Good evening, everybody! Welcome to round 9 of our ISO 1986 F1 series coming to you from the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Cars have finished their qualifying session and are heading around the circuit, getting ready for the race session. I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, Jason. Good evening, everybody. Pleased to be here for another great evening of Formula One racing.
Yes. There you see our latest winner, Jonathan Asserklinth, out on track, getting his Ferrari warmed up and getting used to the full fuel load. So here we are at Brands Hatch, a road circuit, Alberto, that so many regard as a true driver's challenge. It's a combination of tricky double apex corners and breathtaking elevation changes. And with due respect to Silverstone, which tries very hard to be a road circuit, I'd say that Brands is a genuine road circuit. It's imbued with the character of its natural surroundings, and there's nothing artificial about it at all, or contrived. It's really a pure driver's circuit. I personally hate driving this circuit because I can never ever get paddock bend correct in any car. Every single time I go into paddock bend, I'm like, okay, how much am I going to get this wrong this time? It's a very, very diabolical corner, but even so, I have to concede it's a fantastic circuit, a classic, one that has defined British motorsport for decades. What are your impressions of this Brands Hatch circuit, Alberto?
Well, generally speaking, of course, I agree with you. It's really a fantastic venue. I think that being here for the race, be it as driver, be it as a spectator or whatever, is one of the best experiences that you can have in life if you love motorsports. But the one thing that I can say stands out from this track the most is, in general, the combination of all of it. I mean, there are some places like Paul Ricard, where we raced some weeks ago, where you got that big Mistral straight, or Hockenheim, where you got those straights interrupted by the chicanes, or Monaco with the tight corners and some mythical ones. But I think Brands Hatch is one of those tracks that it's a whole. It's something that it's so complicated, so snaking on the hills, up, down, left, right, and so many blind corners and so many technical and complicated ones, that even if you can single out, of course, always this or that turn as the most difficult of the track, what you actually are really impressed with is the whole of it, the whole experience that this track is giving you. The more so when you consider all the history that is behind it, because this thing has been here for ages. It's been a classic in the Formula One Championship. And you can say that here in 1986 is probably when it was starting to show that it was maybe too limited already for how powerful and complicated the cars themselves had become. This is for that very same reason, the place where Jacques Lafitte had that career-ending accident where he broke both his legs. And this is a track where there have been many shunts all the seasons, and by the time they were coming to the 80s with the turbo car, they were really becoming quite dangerous ones. So it's no wonder that the circuit was dropped by the Formula One, but still it keeps being a fantastic venue when you see here touring car racing or even GT cars.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything that you said. Even after it's been left by the Grand Prix world, I mean, the corners like Druids Bend and Clearways and Paddock Bend, they're going to be part of the Grand Prix lexicon forever. Tonight, our drivers are going for 75 laps, which constitutes almost 278 kilometers. So here we are on track now. We're watching Jonathan Asserklinth. So storylines to talk about in this race. This is the midway point. We're starting the second half of the Grand Prix season. Ferrari's success at Paul Ricard has thrust the team into the Constructors' Championship lead which is quite surprising, actually. They double scored with 2 cars, so I don't suppose it's that unusual. But it also gave Jonathan Nasserklint, who's on screen right now, his first Grand Prix win of the season. And Ferrari's rising star is a welcome development in terms of parity in the series, and it'll be exciting for all of you at home. Jules Bouchard is still leading the Drivers' Championship by 13 points. And I would say this is a track that probably would suit the Lotus Renault. Do you agree?
It certainly does, because it's, as we have mentioned so many times, a very agile car. And I think that probably the most important story developing here that we are going to watch is what is Jules going to do now? I mean, what's going to be his attitude? Because as you rightfully pointed out, this is mid-season. We are mid-season. So this is the moment where everybody makes a balance, so to speak, and says, okay, where are we now? What we need to do? And in the case of Jules Bouchard, I think it's quite evident that he's in a very good position. Mind you, there are still even the dropped scores pending, which could only benefit him because he has so many top scores. And at this point, probably his attitude should shift towards managing his advantage and trying to score points and that, but not enter stupid fights or do anything that is too risky, because what he really needs to do is to preserve that lead and try to keep the advantage. Also because as we are going to see, this is the point where some of the teams are really starting to take off with improvements in the car, and Benetton is going to be very dangerous towards the end of the season, as well as Ferrari, who have been improving a lot.
Yeah, and as you see there in the point standings on the screen, with Juha Boss and Jonathan Nasserklint second and third, only 2 points separating them, they're going to be doing everything they can to close that gap to Jules Bouchard. No team orders at Maranello, as far as we know, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Looking at the constructor points, you start to see, yeah, Ferrari is in the lead there. Marlboro, McLaren International, and Brabham are trying to keep within shouting distance of the rivals, but they're only just. And Equipe Ligier has got to be scratching its collective head right now, trying to figure out what do we need to do to get on level playing field with Lotus, where we have the same power plant they do, and a very agile car, because up till now, the only real good results they've had, they had a third place somewhere, I forget where it is, but their only real success has been Detroit with John Team at the helm. So it really has been kind of a disappointing situation for Ligier. Maybe they'll get better luck as the season progresses. We'll see. Anyway, as far as this race is concerned, things to watch out for. Richard Coxon says that you can expect anything from hards to softs as far as tires are concerned, because I guess it depends on the car and the driving style of the driver and what type of strategy they want to play. But at the same time, the other thing that we can look at. Hang on 1 second, sorry. As far as fuel strategy, you will need to do some fuel saving in this race. The target is roughly 2.6 liters a lap. We're not going to be able to see. We'll only be able to tell based on lap time if people are lifting and coasting and trying to save fuel. Brakes are at a low point as far as wear in this circuit. It's not too bad, so it's not a big problem. And I might have mentioned this already, but pit stops are 1 to 2. In the real race, Nigel Mansell won on a one-stop strategy. He pitted on lap 32 out of 75. So that's where we're at the moment. Now, as far as upgrades to cars, we have Williams with engine power improvements, which is very good for them. Haas, the team added new side plates to the rear wing to increase downforce and had a new Ford engine with revised pistons and higher compression for qualifying. Zach Speed at Brands Hatch, the cars have new engines with 3 injectors per cylinder. So, and the other big change that you'll notice, you may not notice it right away, but the closer that you look, there are no tobacco sponsors on these cars. Marlboro is going to take a miss for this particular race. So is John Player. You see, instead of the John Player script there on Luciano's car, it's little leaves indicating victories, and the McLaren cars just simply say McLaren in the Marlboro font. And there you see Ray Radal. He's stationary right now, but you can see how it says McLaren, but in the Marlboro script or font.
Right, so all those are the strategy considerations and the technical upgrades. I think that from the driving point of view, what we can highlight for this race is how incredibly complicated it's going to be to overtake here. This is a very narrow track, and there are so many blind corners as well as some very high-speed ones. And that's a very big problem here, because you got bends that are going up, going down, at the same time turning, and it's very complicated to find a place where you can put a wheel on the inside of the other car when both of you are going to the limit. I mean, when you're coming to a 90-degree bend, it seems like a very clear cut. You just go to the inside, break the other driver, and then you are in the position to overtake. But what are you doing when you're in one of those long high-speed corners? It's very complicated to find the proper place, and the smallest of touch can mean that both cars are actually spinning or sliding out of the track.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of space on the outside of these corners, and where you could potentially run off and rejoin, but that assumes that you've got control of the car. Like we see Rocha going off here on the side. Just because you're on the grass and not hitting a barrier doesn't mean you're going to be in complete control, right, Alberto?
No, but because that's exactly one of the problems. That beautiful landscape of the most fine green British grass, it's also something that slides like ice. I mean, once the cars are there, they are going to basically be drifting all the way to the barriers, even if they are a bit far away from the track. I mean, I've experienced that many times myself when driving here GT cars or the AM1 or whatever, and that's even if the barriers seems to be at some distance, that I mean, you feel like safe in that regard. Once you're in the grass, you're hopelessly sliding there.
All right, so we're on board now with Cezarius Ślepinski, and we're going to see if he can take us on a trip around the course there. Here he is coming now to Clearways, and he'll be starting a lap. All right, so here he comes into Clearways, and now on to the main straight, so we'll get a good clean lap here with Cezarius Ślepinski. He crosses the start-finish line, and now you can see he's having to downshift here for Paddock Bend, and if there are other cars in the way, like there are here, it can be very, very dangerous. Now he downshifts for Druids Bend, which is a long right-hand hairpin. Now heading downhill. In the old days, some drivers went straight from second into fourth gear because it was downhill. Now heading on the back side of the course behind the pits. Left-hand turn here that's kind of a double apex. And now Cezarius is heading out into the forest, downhill here underneath the Shell Oils bridge. And now a right-hander here at a particularly high speed. Oh goodness, lots of people cutting the lawn up here. Now into another right-hand bend. Heading downhill, then uphill again. You can see the elevation change, how dramatic it is. Oops, we have someone joining the server. And then into this left-hand bend here that's slightly banked. And that will bring Cezarius back to the start-finish area. Here he downshifts into Clearways, right hand, and then you can see the start-finish markings there, and that is one lap of Brands Hatch. But you can see how critical it is, especially, see how much he's letting it hang out there in the Paddock Bend. That Paddock Bend is downhill and it's blind as you enter it, so you're basically doing the course from muscle memory at that point.
Yeah, it's very complicated. It's so easy to just put the edge of the tire on the grass and spin. Oh, yeah. There goes Mark Whitman.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really challenging course from every stretch of the imagination.
I mean, there is enough room for the lapped cars to allow the leaders to get by. I don't expect people to get too much bothered by the lapped cars. But overtaking, going for position here with these monsters, that's going to be a completely different story though.
Well, we'll have to keep a close eye on everything and see how it goes. As you may have inferred by now, we came in the air after qualifying was completed, so we're not entirely certain of what the grid is, but we will find out soon enough once the grid is formed up and everybody gets going. Predictions for this race, Alberto.
Well, Lotus and Ferrari seems to be the strongest here. I mean, I don't care really who got the pole in this situation. I don't think this is a circuit that favors the Brabhams at all. And unless I'm mistaken, Del Piccolo is driving in the previous season Brabham. Because of the driver that he got, yes, he's driving in the old BT 50, 53, 54. I don't remember exactly the number. Yeah, 54.
Yeah, 54.
So that's an additional complication for him. I mean, he cannot be judged today in direct comparison with Grant Riddle because he's driving a worse car, the car from the previous season. But that's already quite telling of how Brabham were at this point starting to struggle and to wonder if the design, the extreme design that they had tried to implement in the car for this year was actually working or had been a rather bad idea. So I don't factor them too much into the race. I don't also think that the McLarens are going to be too much in their element here, because it's not as if you need to save a lot of fuel. I mean, probably most cars can do it, and I think that barring the possibility of the Ligiers entering the fight, this should be probably something in between the top Lotus and the Ferraris.
All right, so it appears we're going to the race session now. We see everybody kind of stopped now from what they were doing, so we will hang on here just for a minute and see what happens. If we hear a siren, we know we're going to the next session. My personal feeling is that Bouchard is probably going to reassert himself in this race. Combination of his skill and the car being ideal for the circuit. So that's what I think is going to happen. But we'll see. This series has thrown up a lot of unusual results interspersed with the ones that we expected. So we'll see.
Yeah, he better do. Like I said, he should be quite conservative, but at the same time trying to make the most out of the opportunities he gets in the tracks where his car will shine, like for example here Brands Hatch, but also for example Hungaroring further down the road. Yeah. But as soon as we come to Monza, Hockenheim, Österreichring, I mean those are circuits where we should be expecting the Benetton, for example, to come on its own and really dominate.
And Jules is indeed on the pole, no big surprise. Look at how tightly packed the garage is for the Lotus team. So we'll wait for Jules to. Oh, wait a minute! Actually, they've gone back to.
I can see that there is some kind of mismatch for Gabriel Start, which is quite weird.
Well, there was a new version of the mod that was put out. So it may be a situation where he hasn't used that. It was apparently in response to some glitches that people were experiencing. So maybe he just hasn't downloaded the new version yet. I made sure I had the very latest version before I went in the air. So just in case.
So a bit more of the warm-up, which is probably helping a bit the nerves of people. Although it's only delaying the inevitable.
No. I've found as a driver in the past that if you have an unexpected delay, it kind of shakes out the jitters a little bit. At least for me. I'm sure it's not the case with everybody else, but that's how I usually feel about it.
Yeah.
So while we have a minute here, I can look back at the notes one more time and tell you who is getting some horsepower improvements in this race. In terms of engine race power, Williams is going up from 938 horsepower to 957 with their Honda power plant. Haas Ford is going from 802 to 858. That's a pretty sizable jump. and Zach speed is going from 815 horsepower to 833. So those are the cars that are going to have more power at their disposal as we go through the race today. In qualifying, Williams also had an improvement from 1,054 to 1,158 horsepower. Zach speed, their improvement was 896 to 932, and Haas Ford went from 802 to 858 for their qualifying. So it was basically the same three in both qualifying and engine speed that got the upgrades this time around.
It's truly mind-boggling power figures here.
Yeah.
1,300 horsepower. It's absolutely, it's ridiculous. I mean, the BMW engine at that time was giving an output that was, I mean, just imagine if at Indy they had not cut the boost and things like that, what could have happened, because that's the state of the technology back then.
Oh, here's that.
They were reaching.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go.
Here is that other Brabham you were talking about. This is the BT54. It's a year-old Brabham. And to your point, it's probably a response to the nature of the circuit, thinking that this car would be better adept to the changes of direction and elevation than the flat pancake BT55 was. So
I think they were basically trying things and comparing, because remember, this is the same situation we saw in '87 car that we did with all the teams that were absolutely scared of how the March '87 was handling, and many reverted to the March '86, like for example the Penske team.
True.
So it's a desperate move, that's for sure. I mean, that is not something that you do in the middle of a season, like just to gain a kind of advantage here. It's a desperate move, and it must be a desperate.
And any time you're dipping into what you had before, that kind of is a direct indictment of what you have now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Going back to what worked.
So, while we have a minute, coming up at ISO, next week we close out the Pro Car series, International ADAC Avisrennen Den, whatever. It's the last round of the Pro Cars, round 9 of 9, Sunday, June 18th. Race should start at 2000 CEST. That championship already has been awarded to Cesare Slapinski long time ago. And also coming up on June 25th, the Grosser Prix von Deutschland. I know how to say that one. That is round 10 of 16, Sunday, June 25th, race start 2000 CEST. Trivia question for you to ponder. Who won the last British Grand Prix to be held at the Aintree circuit on July 21st, 1962? Was it A, Jim Clark, B, John Surtees, or C, Bruce McLaren? We will have the answer later on in the broadcast. One more time, just to show you the driver points and constructor points. Jules is in the lead with 42 points. Juha Boss in second with 29. 2 points back is Jonathan Asserklint with 27. Fourth in the point standings, Ray Radal with 21. And then David Saber is fifth with 17. Constructor points, Scuderia Ferrari is now in the lead thanks to their success at Paul Ricard with 56 points. John Player Special Team Lotus is second with 49 points. Marlboro McLaren International is third with 38 points. Fourth is Motor Racing Developments with 19, and then Equipe Ligier staying in that top 5 with 14 points. We're going to be going for 75 laps, or a little under 278 kilometers around this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. It looks like we're going to make another attempt at going to the race session here, Alberto.
Yes, they are restarting the whole weekend just to make sure that everybody jumps from session to session properly and the grid is loaded. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, the way the mod is structured, everybody has to leave the server and go and get their race engine loaded. And that
yes, correct.
Because the race engine is different from the qualifying engine, similar to, in fact, to the way that we built the 73 USAC mod. And then the admin on duty has to input the grid manually. But it's not a huge chore, but it's just one detail that has to be taken care of before these cars can get underway.
Yeah, and the servers are always slow to load, especially on Sunday evening, where everybody seems to be back home willing to, I don't know, watch the films.
Yep. Okay, so we're now going to... Actually, Rocha is listed as first, which no disrespect to Luciano at all, but I'm starting to wonder if is this set up properly? My guess would be no, it's not. The grid is not loaded. So we're going to have to go back and probably have to go through another cycle of our good old warm-up session before we get this underway. Yep. Every once in a while I get it right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Okay, so we're back. This appears to be it appears to be that we're in a qualifying session now, but not sure what's going on.
We're now in warm-up. I mean, jumped
Yeah.
already to warm-up, and Juha will be loading the grid shortly, and then we go to the race.
Okay. In any case, this gives us a chance to talk about perhaps what's been going on. I watched a great deal of Le Mans yesterday and today. Really exciting race. Pretty much all of the hypercar competitors had a turn leading at the front, except for maybe Glickenhaus. But it was like Porsche was up there at one time, then Ferrari was up there, then there was also a privateer Porsche entry of the 963, Team Yota, sponsored by Hertz. All right, now it appears we're going to the race session. So, in advance to the front here. John Team's on the pole, actually, so that's a surprise. Well, not a big surprise, but we'll see how this start goes. So everybody's going to be leaving the garage at some point here and joining the actual grid. There's Team now in his garage, waiting till the last possible minute. We mentioned that fuel could be a concern here, and therefore John Team is making sure that he doesn't go on the grid any earlier than he has to. He wants to keep that fuel from flowing until he has to roll off the grid. Last possible second. Come on, John. Probably a good idea to jump to the grid now.
Yeah, nobody wants the engine to be overheating there in the grid while the rest are joining, so many will be waiting until the last
All right,
second,
here he
so
goes.
time given.
Now he's on the grid. All right.
I think first impressions, quite noteworthy, having Cesarius Lapinski with the Haas there in 5th position.
Yeah.
Good for Rai Vidal to be there on 3rd. I think you can run them down. They are moving already.
All right, here we go. On the pole, John Team, Akit Ligier. In 2nd is Jules Bouchard, John Player Special Team Lotus. 3rd is Ray Radal, Marlboro McLaren International. 4th is Juha Boss for Scuderia Ferrari. 5th, Cesarius Lipinski, Team Haas USA. 6th, Grant Radal, Motor Racing Developments. That is the BT55. 7th, Richard Coxon, Benetton Formula. 8th, Oscar Team, Akit Ligier. 9th is David Saber, Marlboro McLaren International. 10th, Anders Nilsson, Team Haas USA. 11th, Jonathan Asser-Klint, Scuderia Ferrari. 12th, Gabriel Del Piccolo, that's the Brabham BT54 for Motor Racing Developments. 13th, Luciano Rocha, John Player Special Team Lotus. 14th, Tim Hilla, Benetton Formula. 15th, Francisco Amaral, Cannon Williams Honda Team. 16th, Giovanni Centurami for Data General Team Tyrrell. 17th, Mikael Drexler, Cannon Williams Honda Team. 18th is Brian Janik, West Zach Speed Racing. 19th, Alexei Spirichev, I hope I got that right, for the Minardi team. 20th, Dave Miller, also in a Minardi. 21st, Owen Potter, driving the Data General Team Tyrrell number 3. 22nd is Bruno Chacon for Barclay Aeros BMW. 23rd is Raul Ureb for Jolly Club AGS. 24th, Mark Whitman for Acela Squadra Course. And rounding out the field, I believe, is Dario Apa, or Apa, in the Barclay Aeros BMW. That is your grid. As here we come
right
now.
in time. Yes,
Yeah.
they are coming now. Yes, over the last turn, John Team already going for his position.
Yes, they are heading now to they're heading to their grid slots. John Team is in his grid slot.
He put the car there angled to the left, so he doesn't seem to be happy with doing that turn on the inside. I think that the quickest line here is actually on the outside, and even if you got the pole and can have the right to protect the inside, it's going to be quicker for Bouchard if he can make it through.
All right, I'm not going to have the green light graphic in the top and bottom left because I have to have a different angle of camera, and I can't jump from one to the other. But here we go. Stand by for the start of the Shell Oils British Grand Prix.
Green.
And the race is underway. Nice getaway by John Team there. Slower getaway by Bouchard. But look at Schlapinski. Schlapinski goes up into second place. My goodness, as they head down now to the Druids Hairpin, having a good look at them from the chopper here. Yes, Team leads, but there is a Lotus going back in the inside. It looks like the second place that Bouchard lost has been regained. Everybody's starting to get through cleanly. Yes, Team leads. Bouchard second, Slapinski third, Boss is fourth, Radal is fifth, Grant Radal, more specifically.
Yeah, bad start for the senior Ridal. He went from third to, I think he's now seventh or whatever. Great start, on the other hand, by Coxon, who had even two wheels at the grass at some point, but did not lose control of the car. And other than that, I thought at some point that Jules was going to lose it there to be ending up in fourth or fifth, but somehow he managed to prevail, and he's now there chasing John Tim. Cesarius again in third position, well positioned there, but with Grant Ridal behind him, which is not going to be comfortable at all.
Sensational start by Schlapinski, but...
oh, there goes Grant. Great move there.
Yes, Grant has moved around Schlapinski into third place.
Yeah, I don't think that Slapinski made it hard for him. He was seeing it coming.
And the car's going through Druids.
Let's see if the next cars get the same courtesy.
There's still a lot of hargy-bargy going on in the back of the grid. But yes, Grant is now ensconced in third. Juha is now looking at Slapinski, seeing if he can get by.
There is really on the back of the grid like some kind of melee there between Dario Apa, Mark Whitman, Owen Potter, and Michael Dressler. I mean, they are so close together. It looks like a traffic jam.
Yep.
I guess that once they settle into their respective rhythms, they will be spreading out much more.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen eventually here. All right, now
David
heading...
Sabra is also bottled there behind Giovanni Centorame, so it's another situation that should be...
Oh my goodness, it's a real traffic jam back here with Rocha, Asserklint, a bunch of people all together. Oh my goodness, looks like someone's off the track. That was David Saber. So, and as you can see, that space that leaves you there, the room to get back on, it's nice to have it there, but you got to be careful to have the car under control. Tim Hilla dives up the inside of Rocha. This is a battle for 13th place. Rocha takes the position back. Good stuff here. Really good dicing. And
Yeah,
then-
and remember, many of these cars that you're seeing here, I mean, in some laps further down the race, they should be moving to let the quicker cars go by, but now they're fighting for position. It's just that some of the top drivers had a very bad start.
Rocha in this big
Whoa, big accident there. There is Juha Boss and Cesarius Lapinski, both collided.
Oh
One
my
of the
goodness.
cars rammed the other, yes.
No
Something
rear
happened
wing
there.
for Boss, so this is a disaster. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened here. Two cars going for the same piece of road, I think, Alberto. And Juha was on the outside in this case. Look at it from his point of view. And then they just touch right there. Juha goes spinning off, and so does Schlapinski. This is a disaster because Schlapinski had such a great start. And Boss is now all the way down in 21st position. This is a replay we're watching. But he has to go. Oh, he is having a really hard time getting to the pits, Alberto, because the back, he has no wing, and he has to be careful not to take someone else with him. He might have some suspension damage there, too. He doesn't look like he could turn very well.
Yeah, big impact on his championship quest, but we'll see. Anyway, right now things are getting hot there in the front because Grant Ridal has been catching up with Jules Bouchard and is starting to put some pressure on him. Both of them are really not that far away from John Team.
Oh, Oscar Team on the inside of Coxon makes it stick. That's for 4th place. Oscar in the second of the two. Ligier is doing a good job here. But yeah, you're right. Things are starting to heat up here. Grant is right on the back door of Jules Bouchard. We'll see what happens here.
And meanwhile, Boss is already in the pits.
Yeah, it would have taken him a long time to get there. As Grant now is on the outside. And there he goes, right by into 2nd place. Overtaking. Oh, and here comes, looks like Jules thought about going up the inside, but he just didn't really have the placement there. Yeah, Jules is sticking right with him, though. I don't think this is over yet. He's looking for a chance to get alongside Grant and get to that position back.
David Sabre also in the pits for repairs.
So he must have hit something on that off-course excursion he had. And John Team, meanwhile, is out in front of these guys by about 2 seconds, and is like, "Hey, you know what? If you want to go ahead and fight for 2nd place, go for it."
Well, Grant Ridal meanwhile is in 2nd place, so he has taken that word directly.
Yep.
And I think we're already seeing that Jules Bouchard has not been at all as combative as he had been in previous races, especially, for example, now with Grant Ridal. So it seems that what we were talking about before the race, Jason, is starting to sink in on him, that we are past half the season and he's in a very good position.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a good position even now. If he doesn't win the race and he finishes behind these guys, I mean, neither of the Brabham drivers. Let me take a look at the drivers' points one more time.
Yeah, and he must also be thinking about the reliability of the BMW engine that we have seen explode many times.
Yeah, the Brabham drivers are not in the top 5 of the championship, so he'd be doing himself he'd still be doing himself a lot of good if he just simply finished in the top 3 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, here he is, just keeping in touch with Grant Ridal, and I think driving technically a smart race at the moment. In any case, I don't think he, and there's a yellow flag in this corner. Oh my goodness, that was I believe that was possibly a Tyrrell that was off.
And the one that is on fire right now and doing his usual thing in the races, I mean, coming from half grid to coming from half grid to the top is Jonathan Sterling, who already overtook Anders Nilsson. He's now hunting down Gabriele Del Piccolo, who is right in front. They just went by a car that had spun, and by a miracle they did not hit it.
It's Raul Yareb, who is
the AGS.
The AGS that spun. But he's back going again, thankfully. There's still people coming into the pits making repairs here and there, so it was not a clean start for everybody. Tim Hilla is in the pits. That's unfortunate. And Schlapinski in the garage, out of the race. That's really, given the start that he had, that's really disappointing for him. And Mark Whitman also out of the race early in the Ocella Squadra course entry. Team continues to lead.
Yep. Yeah, we're seeing. I think we're seeing now already the dancing couples starting to settle. That will be Grant Riddle and John Tim in a moment, because Grant is coming hot from behind. Jules Bouchard will be basically taking the best first line seat. Then we got back then Richard Coxon, who is hunted down by Ray Riddle. Those two are going to be quite close to each other during the race. Gabriele Del Piccolo and Anders Nilsson, now that Jonathan is moving away. Wait a moment, where is Jonathan?
There's a good scrap developing between Coxon and Ray Riddle. Looking at our leader from the blimp here. Oh, now we're back. Now you can see team is having to handle up some traffic already. That's
okay, now, so Jonathan is down to 11th. Something must have happened because he had overtaken both Anderson and Gabriele, I think, at some point.
Well, as you were saying, there was a lot of really close quarters action going on there, so it's conceivable that he had a off-course excursion or something. But now you can see that Grant Riddle is definitely closing on John Team. The gap is only 9/10 of a second.
Right going for it. He overtakes Coxon. No, he can't, because he just put two wheels on the grass. And look at that, because that's the problem of the narrow nature of this track.
And he lost a bunch of time there, and he's going to have to reacquire. It's if you go for a pass and don't get it done, you cost yourself a lot of time.
Okay, look at the top now.
Yep, Bouchard right with the leader now, and he's got, Bouchard's right with second place, and they're all running right together, all three of them. You could throw a blanket over the top three. There you see John Tiemann first, Grant Riddle in second, and we're riding with Jules Bouchard, who is in third.
And I think that Grant is really, really dying to have a clean track in front of him and be able to show his real pace. Let's see, that's what we were talking about. I mean, it's so complicated to go into that quick blind corner and try to outbrake the other guy, because you're barely braking.
Yeah.
You cannot outbrake at that point. Here it becomes so narrow. If you look from a high view, you can see physically how the track stretches after this section.
All right, here comes Grant. He's in a great position if he gets a good exit in clearways. Yes, he does. He could definitely possibly overtake here. He is.
This is also Grant's favorite place.
Yeah, well, if he's good at Paddock Bend, then he's in excellent shape. Coming up now to the Druids Bend as soon as they finish Paddock. This is Druids. Meanwhile, looking behind him, Bouchard is staying right there. This is excellent racing. Looking back, Oscar Team, don't forget, is in fourth place, and that's excellent work from him so far in the second Ligier. Richard Coxon is in fifth, but he's gonna. Looks like he might come under attack again from Ray Riddle in a little bit. Ray tried to pass him earlier, but it didn't stick, and dropped back a little bit, so this battle may get renewed later on. But in the meantime, the hottest battle is at the front. Looking back from the leader now, and you can see second and third very clearly. The guy here who's probably in the worst position of these three is Grant, because he's got to look in front of him and behind him.
Yeah, that's right. Although, as we have mentioned, it seems that Bouchard is showing a lot of restraint today. So, while he won't be willing to see Grant disappearing in the distance, it's true that he isn't much worried about Grant putting pressure on John Tim. I think that maybe he's just waiting to see if for whatever reason these two collide or have some kind of incident that delays them, and then he can cleanly go over the top. But yeah, he's certainly not taking the risks that we have seen in previous races.
Yeah, I think he's starting to take the long view, for sure. All right, here comes Grant. He's taking a look.
The Renault engine is really quick too.
Now he's looking the other side. He's having a look, trying to make sure that. I mean, it's interesting. We talk about.
And I think if you could show from cockpit view from Grant, people could easily realize how narrow all these things are.
Oh, look at Bouchard there. He looked like he might have been making some kind of a attempt here. But we're riding on board now with John, and was from a slightly elevated view on a crane cam, and we can see the two behind him. Grant's probably.
Yeah, here's the track widening, as we've mentioned, but the other section is so narrow. It's mad.
Into Druids one more time. Yeah, Grant, I think he has a bit of an advantage on this back side of the course, which is more of straight line speed. But we'll see coming into here how he does. He's probably holding, oh, there's Jules having a look. But I don't think he's going to get it done here, no.
And meanwhile, I should also review about the battle that is going on behind. There's Gabriele Del Piccolo and Anders Simpson fighting it out, which is it's a very, very interesting thing to see. Oh, Gabriele is now off, but I mean, Jonathan has been able to catch up back with them, and he brought Luciano Rocha with him as company. So now Gabriele is off track now, but Jonathan is again coming in very hot.
Yeah, Gabriel just ran out of road, but oh my goodness, almost drove into the side of Rocha as he rejoined there. But he's back on track now, in 10th place. Okay, Grant is right with the leader now, but it's still more of the same. I don't think he's going to be able to get around him fairly easily, and he's got Bouchard right behind. Oscar is in a solid 4th place. 5th, Coxon, but also Ray Rodal is in 6th, and he is looking possibly to make an overtake here. Looking back now from Richard Coxon's car. And I think Ray is definitely faster than Coxon at this stage. It's just a matter of him finding the right spot to overtake. Oh yes, here he goes. Well, he didn't quite have, I think, closure rate was more than he was expecting there, but he's looking for the right opportunity to get by Coxon here. It's still at the front, 1, 2, 3. Team, Grant Rodal and Bouchard.
And I should also note, meanwhile, that Juha Boss is back on track. He's now 20th. And, well, obviously he's just trying to fish for some points, if that is even possible, between his speed and whatever retirements he finds in the front. Because later on, well, every point could be important. So it's understandable in his position that he has been trying to come back to track.
Meanwhile, we got an excellent scrap going on between Johnny Aces and Anders Nilsson in the Haas. You were wondering what was going on with Jonathan. He's recovered very quickly from whatever happened, and he's in 8th now, just behind Anders Nilsson, who's in 9th. But he almost had Nilsson on the front straight after.
Okay, I think Grant has it this time. Let's see. He's going into the inside. No, he can't. They were coming out of a situation with a lapped car, and Grant got a good start. But I think that John saw it coming and basically cranked up the boost.
Yeah, you do have that boost as a defense, almost like in IndyCar racing where we have push to pass. A little extra burst here and there can help you maintain your position or get by somebody. But it's not something you want to do all the time because, as we mentioned at the start of the telecast here, fuel usage is a concern. Now here's some more traffic that team is going to have to handle up. Looks like a Minardi, but Grant definitely will be looking for a chance to get by in the confusion of traffic. And you're right, Alberto. It's easy to forget how narrow this course is. It only opens up around the front portion by Paddock. Okay, they're heading into the main straight now.
I think this is one of the most beautiful tracks that you can drive when you're alone on your own. But if you're competing against someone else, it can become hell very quickly.
Yep. Okay, this is Alexei, who gives them room on the outside. They both sail by. No problem there. Although he didn't give way to. Well, now he's giving way. You can see in the mirror to Bouchard. So all three of them are by now. So it didn't really amount to much of anything at the front.
Jonathan also going now for the kill on Anders.
Oh, there he goes.
Yes, he gets by.
Inside, he gets by. Gets cleanly by into 7th place goes Johnny, and there is Nilsson now down to 8th. But yeah, he had tried a previous move going into Paddock Bend and just couldn't get it done. This time he does.
Team now stuck on traffic. Grant coming very close. Let's see if he finds his opportunity here. Lots of traffic here. Anything can happen when they come out on the other side.
Here's Grant going for it. Grant's going for it. Just couldn't quite get it done. Oh no! Oh my goodness! It's an accident with the top 3. Bouchard goes into the lead. Oh my goodness! This is going to take some time to sort out.
Yeah, and Grant crosses attack, and this is exactly what we were expecting that could happen at any moment. As soon as I saw that bunch of cars there, it was immediately evident that it was going to be very, very tight.
All right, let's run that back again because there's smoke.
Yannick did it right, moving to the left, but the next car, the next lapped car, he stood on the right, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, they can pick the side they want to let the leaders by, but the problem is that staggered formation forced both cars, overtaking cars, to do a kind of mobile chicane in the middle of that corner, and that was immediately problematic.
So poor team is coming along, and it looks like he just misjudged where Chacon was, and this is where it all starts. He hits Chacon, and then he ends up hitting Grant Radal because of his deceleration. Janik also ends up in the melee, but you know what? The odd thing, Bouchard goes in the lead, but look at this. John Team actually manages to get going again in 2nd place. Let's look at that one more time, because that's incredible.
So this all basically has gift in a silver plate the lead to Jules Bouchard.
Oh, absolutely. But look for what I'm showing our viewers. Look once again how lucky John Team is in this situation. He didn't lose any wings. He may yet have damage to the car, but look at that. He was able to get going again. His heart must have been in his throat, but it was just basically a misjudgment on his part, it looked like, of the lapping situation. And now Bouchard has been handed on a silver platter the lead, and he's leading by 7 seconds now. So I guess that's a testament to the narrowness of the track and the confines here. And it just, I think, my guess is that John might have had his attention split between looking behind him and looking forward, possibly, and just made that small error. Or maybe he was expecting Bouchard to go expecting Chacon to go a certain direction, and he didn't go that direction. Maybe there's a miscommunication there.
I think he had to wave between the cars, the lapped cars that were making room for him, and when coming out, he found Chacon, and it was so sudden that, I mean, if you don't have enough time to see it coming, it's very difficult to gauge the speed that the car in front is making. So I think he was probably surprised that car was going so slow at that point, probably in an attempt to let them all by.
Yeah, that's a good point. Possibly is what happened there. in any case, Bouchard leads. The gap is dropping a little bit. It's down to 6.5 seconds. So team, apparently his car is okay. His brother Oscar team is in third now. So this is looking to be a good day for Ligier team, despite what we just saw happen. Good fortune, or Lady Luck, is riding with them today, apparently. Which they need. Because up till this point, if they didn't have bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all.
Well, I'm looking at the cockpit view, and I can tell you that the steering wheel in that Ligier is not completely straight in the straights. So there must have been some degree of suspension damage. I don't know how much, but at least some.
And Coxon has pulled out a distance from Ray Radal, so he's got that solidified. And the gap is now up to 8 seconds again, so I think it's just traffic. It's more of a situation of traffic.
Well, then in between all this and despite all the incidents, do you know who is now 6th already in the points?
Jonathan Asserklin. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
there he is.
He benefited from that melee that we saw at the front, and
sometimes not being at the front can be a blessing.
Yes, and sometimes not being in a big group of cars can be a huge blessing. If I had to choose between dicing with somebody and running alone, I would run alone. Just because I know I'm not going to hit anybody. Sure. But so 20 laps now. We're on lap number 20 out of 75. And John, even though he may be fighting the car after that melee, he doesn't seem to be too adversely affected by it. I don't think he's going as quick. He's definitely not going as quick as Bouchard right now, but definitely seems to be in a position where he can still finish well if he doesn't have any more problems. And
so Ridal now getting closer to Coxon again, even having to negotiate a bit of traffic.
Yes. Yeah, Ray's tried a couple of times to get by Richard and hasn't been able to do it. David Saber is 2 laps down, having had some kind of coming together with somebody early in the race. So this is
he entered the pits at the same at the same time as Juha, but was quickly out with some repairs. But yeah, of course that dropped him very much down the pecking order.
Okay. So the minority makes room, and there we go. Both of them get by cleanly, so now Ray has to see if he can catch Coxon here. The McLaren is more of an understeering car than a lot of cars here, so it depends on if that suits. Well, he's definitely catching here, going through the 2 turns, right-hand turns at the back of the course, through the forest here. Right hand, now back to the left. This will take him to the paddock section. But he definitely looks like he's closing, Alberto.
Yeah, the other one that is closing is Oscar Timon, his brother. And that seems to be quite telling of John Tim having some damage, because we have seen that John is usually the quickest of both, and he was fighting for the lead while Oscar was way behind. So this is very clearly a situation where John is fighting a bit of an ill-handling car. And meanwhile, Oscar is probably also speeding up as much as he can, because right now with the clean track ahead, he is pursued by Richard Coxon and Ray Ridal. And they both have their own fight, but because they are not too close together, they are not really hampering each other. So they are coming quick on Oscar, and Oscar is probably speeding up to try to catch up and overtake John and leave Tim in between.
Ray is definitely looking for a place to get by Coxon here, but he's having trouble finding that spot. Now he just understeered in the right-hander here, so he lost a little bit of time. Another lap.
Well, he better gets on the move, because Jonathan is right behind him.
Yes, that's true. Jonathan is closing in on this car as we're watching out the front.
I don't know how many times we have seen Jonathan today make a fantastic comeback and then somehow appear like 10 places back all of a sudden.
Ray is in a position where he'd like to get by Coxon, but can't quite place himself to get it done. He's definitely in the quicker car. He's shown that in several laps of driving, but it's just a matter of Coxon's got the road that he wants. And they're both making way for a Tyrrell here, which hopefully will not cause too much trouble. There goes, all three of them are going to get by here. But look at Assercliffe, you're right, Alberto. He's right there with Ray. And any second could jump ahead. We'll see what happens here. Meanwhile, looking at the front here from Ray's car, Coxon. Bouchard still leads. Team is in John Team in second, Oscar Team third. Richard Coxon is in fourth, and we are riding with Ray Riddall pursuing him. Jonathan Assercliffe is in sixth place. All right, now here's where there's a definite chance for him to get by if he times it right, but Jonathan's thinking the same thing. They're all real close together. Ray is...
Yeah, it's very interesting how they go very quickly from hunter to hunted. I mean, Coxon, for example, was running away where Ray Vidal was having to be defensive, but now it's Ray on the offensive from Coxon.
At the same time, he's got Johnny Aces right there with him. You throw a blanket over this group.
Oof. Getting now uncomfortably close.
Yes. All right, here comes Ray's chance. No,
very clever from Coxon staying there in the middle of the track.
Oh, he might lose the space now to Johnny Aces. Up the inside. No, there's just not enough room, my goodness.
You know, Coxon is a very old fox because he stood there in the middle, he denied the position to Ray, but then at the same time he caused a second effect, and that's Ray not being able to pass and having to lift. He immediately had Jonathan on his back. And Coxon knew it. He said, there, I drop you with a gift.
Coxon might have had to turn the boost back for some reason, but in any case, the closure rate with Ray is huge. Maybe he can try to make it here at Druid's Bend. No, not enough room, but there you can see Johnny Aces is right with him on his rear wing. These three just cemented together. And it looks like there's a 2-second gap between John and Oscar. So that's another battle we're going to have to keep an eye on as we look forward in this race. Oh my goodness, he's right with him now. He's going to make the attempt at the inside, is he? No, Coxon takes it. Really, all you have to do is drive slightly to the right there, and it's not blocking, but you're just taking away that inside edge there, and it's enough to force the guy back.
Coxon is in the dead center of the track.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look from a high view, you can realize that he's in the dead center of the track, and that suffers just because if the other car can make it through, he's coming so quick on a tight bend on the inside that it's impossible to make it, and that's why Ray has to lift and not push the overtake.
Yeah, all three of them come by once again. Now, John and Oscar team are right with each other now. Oscar is right behind John. So we may see a switch here from the Ligier team. And actually, there it is. Oscar goes through into second place as I speak. And John goes down to third. That was very clean, and something tells me premeditated, because John is dealing with an ill-handling car.
There goes Jonathan in the grass again.
Oh, no. Replay up and coming. See what happened here.
And Ray Vidal at the same time now making a move. No, he can't.
Yeah,
he has to put the wheels in the grass.
Jonathan just ran wide there. I think what's going on, Alberto, is that this battle has been so hot and heavy that the tires are starting to overheat a bit.
Yes,
I think that's what's going on, and it's becoming a real problem. Yeah, Ray had another shot there, but didn't get it done. You were looking at that as we were watching the replay of Jonathan going off course. So, yeah, but you can see now that John team is losing ground quickly to Oscar. So I think that was something that they were both, you know, whether they're on, whether they have a Vox communication or not. I think John was not going to put up a fight because he's clearly in a car that's not handling well, and he figures, why not let my brother go on ahead and see if he can track down these guys. And Oscar, who has had an abysmal season so far, finds himself in second place. So cheers to him, because I know he hasn't had the most fun of times in this series so far, but he's doing great right now. Meanwhile, it's 15 seconds up the road to this guy, Jules Bouchard. So we may have to wait until pit stops to see what happens. But Ray is closing back in now on Coxon, and Jonathan is still in sixth, so he didn't lose any track position in that off-course thing. He definitely lost a lot of time, but he's still at least in the points. Just outside the points is the second Lotus of Luciano Rocha. And in eighth, we have Anders Nilsson, Team Haas USA. Ninth is Gabriel in the older Brabham. 10th is Giovanni Centorami, and 11th is Mikhail Drexler. 12th, Owen Potter for Data General Team Tyrrell. 13th, Alexei Spirachev. And 14th is Dave Miller in the other.
There goes right. And he overtakes. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was about to say that I think that now that Jonathan had dropped back, Rai probably would be more tempted than ever to make the most of the situation and now be able to kill in cold blood.
Well, there he goes.
And that's exactly what he did.
He got by just before Paddock Bend. Very, very well executed pass by Ray, and Ray is now in fourth place.
He clearly cranked up the boost to the maximum because there was a huge closure right there. He went for a good exit from the previous corner and cranking up the boost, and now he can leave there Coxon to fend it off with Jonathan. Now the logical thing would be that Rai actually starts slowly to move away because he had been catching up with Coxon all the time. Every situation where he lost ground, he immediately was able to recover it. So I would guess that he's able to open a gap, although probably Richard wants to follow him so as not to fall into the clutches of Jonathan.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would argue...
At some point you are limited by fuel.
I would say that Coxon is probably in the machine that is more suited to this circuit overall, but as I say that, Ray is continuing to pull away, so... Yeah, Ray definitely in control now. Oscar is 15.7 seconds behind Bouchard. And John is about three and a half seconds back of his brother. Jonathan Asserklint in sixth place. Let's look back here, see if there are any other battles going on.
And even so, Oscar was 0.1 of a second slower than Jules on the previous lap, so it doesn't seem to be that he's in a position to really catch up with him.
Grant Radal is all the way down at 18th now after that accident, so very demoralizing, I'm sure.
And many laps behind.
Yes, many laps behind.
Whoops! Oscar is on the grass.
Oh, goodness!
He seems to have overcooked it at some point.
Yeah, he did. Let's see. Yeah, he got into the grass down at the entrance of Druids, and that sent him a bit wide. He's lucky that the barrier is where it is and not closer. And he gets back on just in front of his brother, so it looks like he's no worse for wear. Yeah, he's continuing in second place, but he lost more time to the leader. He's now ninth.
Okay. Jonathan now already on Richard Coxon's tail.
Some dust up here, kicked up by somebody, but...
Signaling for pits, by the way.
Yeah, which seems a bit early for me, but we'll see what happens here. He is definitely right with Coxon. I almost get the feeling that Coxon is in a fuel-safe mode by the way he's driving.
Yep. Whoops,
Oh,
there
whoa,
goes
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Jonathan
whoa,
again.
whoops.
Yeah, he went
Careful,
into the
careful.
marbles.
Careful, careful. Now, is he going to go into the pits? Yes, he is. So, okay, here comes Jonathan for his pit stop. Oh man, he just sprints into the pits. Comes to a
I
stop.
think that Coxon's driving has been today an incredible demonstration of how you can drive cleanly, safely there in the middle of the track, and yet cause a huge amount of problems to anybody who wants to overtake you.
Okay, Jonathan exiting now in 8th place.
Yeah, that was a quick stop. Juha is 16th now, still 10 places away from points.
Oh, Raverdahl going up the... Oh, no, that's not for position. That was Drexler. But Oscar looks like he's recovered from that off-course problem he had. Raverdahl in 4th, Cox in 5th. With the pit stop of Jonathan Esterklint, Luciano Rocha finds himself in the points, driving the Ayrton Senna number 12.
So I think the question now is if Ray Vidal is going to be able to catch up with John Tim. It should be possible. They are 9 seconds away from each other, and Ray is lapping about 0.5 to 0.7 of a second quicker than John Tim. We know John has an ill handling car, and yeah, that's. I mean, if Ray is able to catch up with John, I don't think that it's out of the cards that he could even get up to Oscar, because Oscar is still, due to errors or pace or whatever, not able to move very much far away from his brother. So if Rai is actually catching up with John, then Oscar should be the next target, and I think both are feasible in what's remaining of the race, because we're not even half distance, even if we're close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when and if Ray gets into contact with these two. See what transpires, because you're right, they're probably going to be fairly close together when he gets there.
Jonathan is charging again. Still ways to go, because he lost many positions, but
here he goes
in the pit stop. But yeah, the others have to pit too, and I think Jonathan's style is very aggressive. He drives, I mean, he just, for example, put half of the car in the grass. I mean, he leans so heavily on the outside wheels that he nearly lifts the other ones, and they don't need that much grip. But the thing is that even if it's quite effective, it's also quite brutal. And in tracks like this, where the car is taking a beating with the slow corners and the changes in elevation and that, he's paying a dear price for that, because he's continuously having incidents.
But to your point, he is able to bounce back again and again. It's like every altercation he has is like a whiplash that just pushes him forward. Yeah, it's a lot of lap traffic now that everybody's coming through here. Oh, goodness! It appears that somebody went off there. It wasn't, no, it wasn't any of the leaders. Somebody went off at Druids. Not sure who it was. In any case, Oscar team's doing a good job of handling up the traffic. Here he is going by Dave Miller. Takes care of that situation quite well.
Well, John Tim is being helped by the fact that Rice seems to have settled in 15.5, whereas John has sprinted a bit, and he showed, for example, on the previous lap that he could do 114.8, and now he did 115 dead, and that has even increased a bit the distance to 11 seconds between him and Rai Ridal. So he's basically telegraphing a message to Rai, telling him, well, don't try to catch up with me because I can go quicker.
Yeah, it is funny. We see that a lot in this series, where drivers will come under attack, or they can see a gap closing, and they'll respond with a lap that basically telegraphs the other driver, "Oh yeah, well I can go faster anytime I want." So this definitely was the situation there. Oscar continuing in second place. His brother Ray John not far behind. Ray Rodal in fourth place. Fifth place is Coxon. Sixth, Luciano Rocha. Seventh is Anders Nilsson, driving a very smooth race for Team Haas.
Well, whatever the case, we're going very soon to be getting at the pit stops, and
Yes.
the pit stops is one of those things that can like reset a race. You know, people come out with fresh tires and like a bit, even if it's only 8 or 10 seconds to get some air back into the lungs and try to like set the mind again on a different mindset and go for it. So we know that some cars are actually handling better after the pit stops and others are doing exactly the opposite, because the cars vary so much from the beginning to the end of the race due to having to consume so much fuel. The fuel load is huge, so the weight of the car is really suffering with that. That's a thing that has a lot of influence in how the drivers set up their cars, and some prefer to be quick at the beginning, some at the end. Others go for more regularity, even at the expense of some speed at some parts of the race. So I'm really waiting to see what happens here after the pit stops, because we could see maybe eventually Rai starting to get quicker.
Just to give you an idea of the pace of this race, Jules Bouchard is coming up to lap Gabriel Del Piccolo in the blown Brabham BT54. Gabriel is in 8th place, so very quickly here, there's going to be 7 cars on the lead lap. That's the pace that Jules has been setting down here, which is very impressive. We're not even we're just now we're getting close to halfway here. Everybody's staying out of the pits so far.
Yeah, the gap is now back to 10 seconds. Rai has sped up a bit in the previous lap. He has shown that he can also do 1/14 if he wants. And like I said, knowing that the fuel management in the McLaren is his strength, I am expecting Rai to go a bit more, like 2/3 of the race, until being sure that he can use the rest of the fuel in a sensible manner, and then probably speed up.
Meanwhile,
so it's lap 37. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Just there's pit action going on, but it's cars from the back of the pack that are pitting, not the leaders at this point.
I was about to say that Jules Bouchard is meanwhile doing another lap, and not yet any hints of him going into the pit. But then again, he is in the privileged position here. I mean, he can lap regularly, safely, clean track ahead, clean track behind. No need to push the car, so he can stretch it at will.
Yeah, everybody's continuing on here. No pit stops yet.
Well, it seems that everybody is going for a single pit stop.
Yeah, one stop, not 2. Pretty clear.
Besides, maybe, I don't know, you have also David Sabri, who had that very early pit stop.
Yeah, they're going to have to stop a second time. That stop earlier, repaired damage, was not far enough into the race to constitute a stop for fuel that would have taken him to the end. Nilsson is in the pits now. He's taking his stop.
Okay. Bouchard now coming on the front straight, stuck behind Gabriele Del Piccolo, which goes to show again how easy he's taking it.
Nilsson exits the pits. also I think that's Bruno Chacon making his pit stop.
Whoop, Bouchard there, trying to make a quick move to come out of the slipstream, and it nearly backfired on him. It's not that Del Piccolo is doing anything wrong, but boy, he dares on the grass. I mean, he's
Not
staying on
making
his
it
side of the It's just, Bouchard had to crank up the boost, evidently.
No, he wasn't making it easy. So
no
now,
easy nor hard. It's just that Bouchard didn't have the pace to really do it quickly without cranking up the boost. I mean, it seems he was avoiding it, but at the end he had to.
so now we have 6 cars on the lead lap. Coxon just having dispensed with Dave Miller, and I don't think we can see the leaders back there just yet.
Now the gap stands 12 seconds between John Tim and Ray Riddle, so it's more or less staying the same, if not increasing a bit. But let's wait and see what happens after the pit stops.
All right, team is now up to Nilsson, who's in 7th. So now there will be 6 cars in the lead lap once he overtakes Nilsson. My apologies. There he goes on the outside. Nilsson gives him the room.
So Jonathan is now 16th. He was before 8th. Must have been another incident for him, because otherwise I cannot explain it. Bad day today in Ferrari land.
Yeah, more or less it is. And that's too bad, because they were looking to maintain the momentum from Paul Ricard. Whoa! We got one of the... I think it was David Saber running wide there in his McLaren. He's the Prost McLaren, so. But looked like he was able to rejoin without any trouble.
Okay, we're in lap 14, and none of the leaders seems to be interested in pitting.
No, they don't. So maybe it's a good time to go to the trivia question. So the trivia question was, who won the last British Grand Prix to be held at the Aintree Circuit on July 21st, 1962? Was it A, Jim Clark, B, John Surtees, or C, Bruce... Oh, no, wait, hang on. Or C, yes, Bruce McLaren. Time's up. What do you think?
I guess Jim Clark would be too easy, far too easy. I'm going to say my personal favorite, just because he was also motorbike champion, John Surtees.
Nope. I'm sorry. That is incorrect. The answer is Jim Clark.
I nearly got it. So.
Yeah, you were there. You had it, and you chose the other one.
You know, unlucky in the game.
Wrong.
All right, so Ray now has to handle up one of the... I gotta say, for a track that's this narrow, everyone's doing really a job of keeping out of each other's way. Except for when there are miscommunications, which is probably what happened in the case of John with...
and back to the race. Yes, back to the race into the order. Richard Coxon is in 6th, and he was overtaken at some point by Luciano Rocha. I don't know if we missed the pit stop by Richard.
Possibly.
Yep. On lap 35, he was 20 seconds slower. So that seems to indicate it's not an on-track incident. He must have had his pit stop there.
All right, so if that's true, then he's just he needs to get to the end on the tires he has. and there's others who have yet to pit in front of him, so it could be a good day for Coxon when this is all over. Tim Hilla is way down the order right now, thanks to all the hargy-bargy, as Jonathan might say, that went on early in the race. So we'll see what happens there.
Brian and John are still 10 seconds apart.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has changed here. And again, we're waiting to the pit stops to see what happens. You know, there's that random factor of what the pit crews do.
Yeah.
Because some of them might be slower. And again, let's see what happens when they come out on fresh tires.
Well, we know that Coxon is pit. We know that Anders is pit. So the top 5 are the ones we're looking at and wondering, okay, when are you guys going to come in? I'm surprised that they're going this long on the tires they're using.
Correct.
Yeah, everybody's staying out. See
Yeah, but as Coxon said, any tire can make the distance as long as the car is happy with them.
Yes.
I mean, as long as you are driving the car in the temperature window, because there is not, and we should stress this because people are usually confused by the fact that there are so many different tire choices. There is not a lot of grip difference between all the race compounds. What those compounds are meant for is to actually keep the proper temperature window when the cars are racing. So a car with mediums can be as quick as another car with softs, as long as the mediums are in their temperature window, same as the softs. So what's going on here is that you need to lap a lot with your car and see over the whole stint what the temperature is and what kind of compound is keeping them happy. But it's not that you're going to suffer a lot because you have to move to a harder one if you're overheating them. Quite the opposite. If you're overheating the soft tires, then by all means you have to go for the mediums and you will be quicker, especially over the whole stint. So as long as the car is happy, everything is okay. And that's what we are trying to figure out here, if they are going to need a tire change, even if they are in the temperature window, or if they are like happy with the with how much tire is left.
Well, based on the way they're driving, nobody seems interested in pitting right now. They swing wide before they go into clearways, so you can pretty much tell when they're going to come into pits by the position of the car as they enter clearways. Rocha also is not going for pits, so most of the pit action has been at the back of the field or 6th and 7th, and that's it. But Ray driving a very smooth race. John, impressive. You can see him struggling with the car here and there as they go along, but he seems to be able to deal with it. It's not too bad to the point where he can't do it or keep the car going. But it's just bad enough that makes the car just that a little bit more uncompetitive than the other cars. So he can hold his own at this point essentially, but not attack anybody. That's where it's at right now with this car, it seems.
Yeah, it's a shame because he probably would have contended for the race win with Jules Bouchard. But well, it is what it is. I also think that Juha Boss, had he not suffered that accident, would have been there on the top fighting it out. But
yeah,
well,
you're right. It's a very bad day for Ferrari at this race. Not in real life. It's not a bad day for Ferrari in real life, but it's a bad day in sim racing land because this was a chance for them to close that gap. They've already got the championship lead in constructors' points. It was a chance for their drivers to eat into the 13-point lead that Jules has, and this is exactly what they didn't need to happen. Is Jules to get out to a sizable lead and have both of their cars have multiple calamities during the race. Not at all what they wanted to have happen. Meanwhile, Ligier, it is refreshing to see them actually making good on the potential of this car at a circuit that, frankly, probably suits the car well, I would think.
yeah.
This car is not all, in terms of dimensions and in terms of logic of the way it's constructed, not all that dissimilar to the Lotus. and they're running the same power plant that Lotus is running, which is why I was saying earlier in the opening remarks, it is strange that they were having such a hard time being competitive versus, or it wasn't so much that they were uncompetitive, bad luck and all kinds of weird things just kept getting thrown their way. But today, the team on the whole looks solid, overcoming adversity from an early incident with John, and Oscar must be making up for a ton of disappointment early in the season by running second right now, and I'm sure he's in a position where he doesn't want to do anything stupid. He wants to notch a good result. So he's probably doing the technically superior thing right now, just driving within himself and not trying to hunt down Bouchard and end up going off the track.
Yeah, and there is also the engine blowing up lottery towards the end of the race.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about engines and the possibility of blowing up.
Because we haven't had yet anyone expiring, but
as far as we know, there have been no engine failures yet, and we're on lap 48 now. And still everybody's staying out.
Constant distance between John Tim and Ray Riddle still. But pit stop or not, I'm pretty sure, like I said, that a bit later into the race, maybe around lap 50 or 50 something, if Ray makes up the calculations quickly and realizes that he has enough fuel, he will be cranking up that boost and going on a hunt, on a leisure hunt.
All right, taking a look ahead here. Don't forget that coming up next week here at ISO, June 18th, Sunday, is the final round of the Pro Car Series. This championship has been awarded to Cesarius Slipinski a long time ago, but we have one more race to run at Avis, and I haven't looked at the revised Avis circuit. This includes tire chicanes at both.
And just as we mentioned it, Alexei Spirishev's engine has expired.
Oh, no. Let's see. Well, it's a bit far back now, but so that is as our first engine failure. And Francisco Amaral's going slow. Apparently, this is our second engine failure. I don't know what's going on here. Well, he actually is underpowered, but for some reason he was going really slowly there. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's have a look. Oh, he actually went off course. That's what happened. So let's run this back, see what's going on here. He lost it in paddock bend on his own, it looks like. So here he goes, entering paddock bend, maybe a bit too wide. He got on the concrete there for a second. Yeah, he just loses it on his own into the exit of paddock downhill. Does not hit anything, though, and is able to keep the car rolling. Just makes room there. The reason why he was running so slowly is he was making room for cars that were oncoming. So good on him. And Amaral back in the race in 17th place.
Aha, Bouchard in the pits now.
Aha. Oh my goodness. There was a incident just now between somebody, I couldn't see it, but you're right. Bouchard, yes. Dave Miller is off the track, rejoins. Let's have a look at what happened here. He was running behind Amaral, who we were just having a look at. He got tangled, looks like, with is that Janik? Yeah, Janik actually shouldered. He was alongside Janik going into this turn. I don't think Janik knew that Miller was there, and he kind of shouldered him off the circuit into the grass. And then Dave spins around.
Okay, excuse me. John Tim is also in the pits, so Rai has overtaken him. Rai is in second position now, 12 seconds behind Jules Bouchard. Oscar Tim is in the lead, 2 seconds in front of Jules Bouchard. Yep. And we need to see what happens with the pit stops of Ray and Oscar. I'm guessing Oscar will pit because John has pit, but we know nothing about Ray. I mean, he could do the distance, we don't know.
Yeah, John, you're right, all the way down to 4th place now. And because they work so closely together, the two of them, I would assume, you can assume that Oscar's going to stop at some point, I would think.
Luciano Rocha is also on the pits now, and that has allowed Richard Coxon to recover that position. So he's in 5th again.
Oscar into the pits now, and Bouchard retakes the lead.
Right, let's see what happens with Prix. He's now closer to Bouchard. Is that? No, I think we're getting the distance. Let's see when he crosses the finish line. Yeah, 10 seconds behind Bouchard. He's actually closer to Bouchard than he was before.
Looks like Rocha might have some damage he's attending to as well, because he's still in the pits. Oscar exits in 3rd place with Ray in 2nd, so we're going to be looking to see when Ray comes into the pits.
Yes.
Ray continuing on. So basically everything's going to cycle through, assuming that, there's some dirt here up in the air, not sure what that is. Somebody in front of Ray here, mowing the lawn. It's Bruno Chacon. So, and Ray is now signaling pits, so Ray will be coming in this time around, it appears.
And the action is starting to accumulate because Richard Coxon is now very close to John Tim in going for position. And I think that the Benetton, because he was catching up with Rocha, has been the car that has gotten a better result with the pit stop and the tire change.
Okay, here comes Ray now, entering the pits. Everybody's just sailing through there. There's no pit speed limit whatsoever, so everybody's trying to make the most of their pit entry. And Rocha
on the rear and medium at the front.
Rocha is still in the pits, down to 9th now, so this is definitely, he's got some other problem there than just replenishing the fuel. Something's not right there.
So Oscar Tim now recovered his position. He's now stuck behind traffic. John Tim is 3rd. He managed to overtake. 4th is Richard Coxon. 5th is Brad Vidal. So that must have been a really horrible pit stop for him. Wow, really bad.
Yeah, Coxon now is, and Coxon actually is not that far behind John Tim at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised if a battle for this position unfolds a little later.
No, we were mentioning it before.
Yep.
I mean, the car that is benefiting more from the pit stops and the tire change has been the Benetton all over the season. Forced usually to do early pit stops. We have seen that happen to Richard many times and to him, but clearly becoming very quick towards the end of the races, and here he is hunting down the lead gear, and I don't think it's going to take too long until he gets it. In the meantime, like I said, the surprising thing has been Brad Vidal coming out on 5th. It's something I was really not expecting. I thought he was going to undercut John Tim.
Jules Bouchard out of the race!
Oh. So what happened?
Oh, I'm running it back now. He was in
Engine.
His engine let go. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's in the garage right now, and Luciano's still in the pits. I hope his engine is turned off. Oh, he's got damage. You can see it on the left side of the car. So, wow. Just like that. And now Oscar Team leads the British Grand Prix. We are on.
But you know what? My favorite at this point to win the race is Richard Coxon, because look, we know that John Dean has a crippled car. Richard is very quick now after the pit stops, and Oscar is actually not that far in front of John and not going any quicker. So if Coxon plays his cards well, I think we could have a British winner today in the British Grand Prix.
Here's an interesting situation. Coxon 3rd, and Asserclinth is clearly faster than him, and is going to try to sprint by on the inside here. But Johnny Aces is in 13th place. Two laps
he's
down.
Himself.
Yeah, he's unlapping himself. Coxon says, okay, go on ahead. I don't want to fight you for this.
No, he wants to follow him and see probably maybe if Jonathan is unlapping himself also from the Team Brothers. That could be the opportunity for Coxon to make it through. I think they are both, by the way, in the same Discord channel. So they must be communicating, which takes account for a very clean pass.
True. Yep. Well, that's really unfortunate for Jules, who was looking for a chance to pad his results. But Ferrari must be breathing a sigh of relief because it means that also with from a constructor's point of view, also with Luciano having his problems 4 laps down now to the leaders, it basically means that they're not going to lose too much to Lotus in the Constructors' Championship.
And this also goes on to show the nature of what racing is all about, because we've seen in previous races Jules being much more aggressive, going for it, banging the car, and yet paying no price for it. And today he didn't get a single foot wrong. He was throwing absolutely a perfect race, and yet the engine let go on him.
All right, so if you're Oscar and John in this situation, what do you think is priority number 1? Because you're out in front of the third place car by about 3 seconds. Almost 4. With 20 laps to go, what is the game plan?
Go like hell. I don't think that Oscar at this point can do anything different than whoa, he nearly spent there. Then basically make sure that he sends the message to Richard Coxon that speeding up should be absolutely useless. And he's climbing up the walls and that, and he has a cushion, but he probably should be, he can manage a bit the distance. There are 9 seconds gap to his brother because he must have sped up, but he shouldn't fall into the trap of feeling the pressure of Richard Coxon for doing something silly. He should be just staying concentrated and going the quickest he can go. I mean, it's not the time for managing much the distance, but maybe do that 5 laps to go if you really have that gap. But right now he needs to stay focused, not overdrive, but certainly be able to show Coxon that he's not going to be an easy prey.
Well, right now, oh my goodness, Wing lost on one of the, oh, Jonathan has spun out again. And now Coxon, my goodness, that could have been really serious. Coxon had a bunch of melee going on in front of him and managed to get by without too much trouble. Let's look at a replay of that, actually. Looking from the track side, you can see there's that piece, yellow, and we know it's this Resta, so we know that's a Minardi end plate. And you can see Jonathan having spun just prior to that, right there. I believe that's Jonathan. Looks like it. And now Coxon slides by on the inside as Miller drops back with a missing front wing. So that could have gone way worse. Coxon avoided a potentially serious situation there.
So we were talking about sending the message, and Oscar team certainly is doing it. He did just 4 consecutive laps in 1:13, and he opened the gap to his brother to 11 seconds. So
wow,
it's clear that he has the pace, that he can do it. The question now is this a bluff, because he will have to tone down the boost a lot for the last laps, or is this for real? Let's see, because he's going really, really quick now. Coming to lap traffic now to David Sabre, but I can see, I mean, he's going very quick but not uncontrolled, so I think he's following the book. Yeah, clean overtake there on David Sabre. Oh,
he's got
but still using all the tarmac and not less.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing it. He's going for it, not letting up.
Let's see. Wow, 112. He went down to 112. I mean, that's like 3 seconds quicker than what Coxon did on the previous laps. Yes, Coxon is on 115. I think that Coxon right now is just thinking about John. And John himself has tried to speed up a bit. So they are both telegraphing the message to Richard. And Richard has kept the pace that he was having, which was enough to catch up with the team brothers as they were driving before, but now they are really speeding up and showing him that they are not going to be an easy prey.
Yeah, they're basically controlling the race from the front at this point. Even John in his crippled car is doing really good, maintaining a good distance between himself and Coxon. It's now up to 7 seconds, actually. So
well, Coxon's problem right now could actually be Ray Ridal, who is only 3 seconds behind him.
That's true.
And going a bit quicker.
They're not in contact at the moment, but he is coming. Yeah, there you can see him entering the picture just behind. So, yeah, that may be what's more on his mind than catching the team brothers.
Team brothers who are, by the way, already slowing down a full second. Because, look, this is the psychological war between the drivers that unless you get a clue from that, from those who are watching the lap times, you would miss it. And that's as soon as Richard started threatening to catch up with John, both John and Oscar got on the move and quickly showed Richard that there's nothing to do. They can go very much quicker. So now they are basically seeing that Richard was unable to respond, and immediately they have cranked the boost down and they have gone a full second slower. They're happy with it. And Coxon is probably now thinking about something completely different, which is, what am I going to do with Ray Ridal, who is coming from behind, and it's only 1 second behind me. Yeah,
that gap is closing down little by little. Ray has got one lapped car that he has to deal with in front of him, but that's it. It looks like Centorami, if I'm right. Yes, Giovanni Centorami driving one of the Tyrrells today. Another team with a Renault engine that doesn't seem to be able to put up good results. Is it just a car deficiency, Alberto?
It's hard to tell. Hard to tell at this point.
All right, here's Ray in the slipstream of the Tyrrell, looking to get by here. He should be able to get by going into paddock and has no problem. And now he's definitely, now his next target is Coxon. He can see him in front. He's closing visibly. The gap is now 1.8 seconds.
I must say that I'm a bit disappointed with it. I was expecting the Benetton to really speed up after the pit stop. Clearly not being the case.
Well, if I'm right, a third place finish is going to be, if Coxon can pull it off, will probably be the best Benetton result this season so far.
Yes.
If I mean, I could be wrong, but that's, they may have had another third place finish somewhere else, but I would have to go back and look at the results. But no! Ray's engine has just expired. Oh no! Ray Ridal out of the race. Unbelievable. So that means that Nilsson is going to move up to 4th place for Haas Lola. Giovanni Centorami is going to move up to 5th place for Tyrrell. So Tyrrell may be looking at their first championship points.
And Gabriele Del Piccolo could get the last points-paying position, 6th.
He's actually
with the old Brabham.
Yeah, in the old Brabham. He's not that far behind, actually. He's got the 2 Ferraris next to him here. Johnny Ace is trying to get by and unlap himself, but can't do it. And Yua's right in front. But Del Piccolo eventually here will pick up 6th place. And yeah, there it is. And then Centorami will be in 5th. So he's looking to climb even further up the points chart, driving the 1-year-old Brabham.
Well, there's still 15 laps to go. And the team brothers are certainly not light on the foot.
Oh boy, here it comes. Here it comes. He's going up the inside. He runs out of room. He can't get it done. Centorami sandwiched between Gabriele Del Piccolo and Juha Boss. This is not a comfortable situation, but Gabriele looks like he can just is fixing to pass Centorami when the time is right. He's looking for it.
And hang on, because Juha Boss is now in 8th position, but it's going to be 7th as soon as he overtakes the position where Rai left the race. And that means that anyone quitting at the front for whatever reason, and he's going to get at least 1 point. So from the previous situation I mean, speaking in terms of his championship hunt. Previous situation where we got Jules Bouchard in the lead, about to score the maximum points, and he was out of the points. Now it's Jules who is not scoring anything, and he could get 1 point.
Well, and also Owen Potter is in 9th place. Okay, there goes one of the Ferraris by, so Gabriel's not interested in engaging with the Ferraris right now. That was Jonathan. So now he's going to try to overtake Giovanni Centorami. Jonathan is still in the top 10, believe it or not, and he will be 9th once he catches up to... No, actually, he's already passed... no, he hasn't passed Ray yet, so eventually he will be in 9th place.
Jonathan certainly being all fireworks this race.
All right, there he goes by. So Gabriel's going to try to resume his battle with Giovanni Centorami. Centorami now in 5th place, as we mentioned, because of Ray Riddall's DNF. And in 6th is Gabriel. He looks at the inside, no room there. Going into Druid's Bend. Coming downhill now, back to the left, behind the pits. My guess is Gabriel will try to do it by out-dragging Centorami somewhere. He has a look up the inside. Tightening corner here. Car wants to understeer out to the barrier. Now heading down the back straightaway. I think Centorami might have grabbed some boost there. Chacon throwing up a lot of dirt ahead of these cars, which can definitely throw your concentration, but they're both clear of him now. Gabriel definitely on the attack now, breathing down the neck of Centorami, looking for any kind of opening. But it's so narrow through here. It's too narrow.
Too close for
here.
comfort. Yeah, this is the narrow part of the track. We've talked about it many times over the broadcast. It's a big problem.
So a bad day for McLaren, a bad day for Ferrari, but maybe not a bad day for Tyrrell, Haas, or Brabham, potentially here.
Not that Lotus are having a great day either.
No. Lotus not having a great day. I don't know what it was that was befalling Rocha way back when, but he's 3 laps behind the leaders, so no points will be scored today for Lotus, unfortunately, for them. All right, here comes Del Piccolo now, looking for another opportunity here to get by Centorami. He's not as close this time.
I think that should benefit him because the moment he wants to be close is really before the last corner. And then head in the best manner possible for the main straight. If you can call that a straight even.
He's got him set up pretty well here.
This is the place he wants to be close. Look at that. Now crank up the boost, use the BMW power and see what happens.
Well, I think Centorami might be using some of his Renault power too.
Yeah, and there's Luciano Rocha there behind them.
Yeah, not for position.
No, but he's going to lap them. This could be also something that helps Gabriele. Because at some point they need to let him through.
So nothing's changed at the front. Oscar still leads. John Team is in 2nd. Richard Coxon is in 3rd. Anders Nilsson 4th. You're watching this really good battle between Giovanni Centorami and Gabriel Del Piccolo.
There goes Rocha now.
Yep. It's always an awkward situation when you're way behind and your car is faster than the ones who are laps ahead of you. Never an easy situation. I don't care what series you're in.
Del Piccolo must be thinking, give me that Lotus, give me that Lotus. Give it to me.
Well, it does provide a respite for Centorami. It does give him a chance to breathe easy for a second, if not for very long.
Let's see where he lets Luciano Rocha by, because he must be seeing the blue flags already. Oh, he's not letting him by.
I think this highlights, in particular, for me, what a good driver Centorami is. He's very good in other series. He's in the top 5 in the Pro Car Series, for instance. But here he is in a guest drive for Tyrrell. Up till this point, Tyrrell has been nowhere in this championship, and suddenly here he is in top 5 placing, driving at Tyrrell. I think a lot of it has to do with the driver. Here goes Luciano, and Centorami was not thrilled about letting him by, but does so. Now,
and this is what Del Piccolo was waiting.
Yes, Del Piccolo was waiting for this. He's right with him now. This is for 5th place. Can he get by? God, he's right behind him.
No, this is the narrow part.
Oh man.
Whoa!
Yeah, Gabriel nearly lost it there, so that's a gift to a Centorami. He's not going to stay on the mat for too long. He's going to get back up again, I'm sure. So less than 10 laps to go now, and we could be looking at a victory for Oscar team. Has Oscar won a race in ISO competition to this point?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Well, I'm going to find out.
Those Tyrrells are flying. There is really a big gap now between John Tim and Richard Coxon, who seems to have settled happily into that. Oh yeah, he's going much slower now.
All right, the answer is no. Not only has Oscar Team never won a race in ISO competition, but he has never placed 2nd or 3rd.
Well, that's a nice debut on the podium then, if he can make it.
Which I find hard to believe, but I'm looking at his results racked up here. The best that he has done recently is a 5th place in kart competition, and that was last year, in November of 2022. So, not only is he looking at his first podium finish, but his first win in ISO competition. Pretty amazing. And still Giovanni is keeping Del Piccolo at bay.
Yeah, I was about to say that they're back at it. It's really demoralizing for Gabriele that his car is quicker precisely in that part of the track which is hardest to overtake, and he cannot make it. But let's see. All in all, he's trying to force the error on Giovanni. Nearly got him there when they were being lapped by Luciano.
And Nilsson is going to have an excellent result for Haas if he can keep going here. They don't finish in the points too often, and he's looking really stout right now. Early on, it was his teammate that was looking good, but then had an issue and was forced to retire. Now here comes Jonathan, and if I were Nilsson, I would just simply let him go. I would not argue over this point in the serial. And there goes Jonathan sailing by the inside. Coxon doing an excellent job in this race in 3rd. And yeah, I think you're right. I was expecting maybe there'd be a little bit more in this car towards the end here, but it does show that what we expected, and that is that the Benetton team is coming along, and it's going to be more of a factor as the season plays out. But John soldiering on in his slightly crippled car. We are speculating. We really don't know how much damage has been done to that car from the earlier incident. But Oscar continuing on here. He is in the lead by 29 seconds, almost 30.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. He's quite focused and concentrated. So, well, he's doing as I said, as I advised, is just hit your marks. Don't take unnecessary risks, but hit your marks and try to be as quick as possible in a controlled manner, and then see what you got.
Yeah.
And you know, it's important now that he doesn't stop that, because sometimes it's when you are relaxing and changing the rhythm that you were having that the errors can happen.
Yeah,
it's incredible, but sometimes you're more prone to do errors if you're going slow than if you're going quick.
So there we see on the board the Ferraris are now running 7th and 8th, just tantalizingly out of the points. So they certainly had the pace today. They just didn't have the luck. The luck, on the other hand, has definitely been with the Ligier team, especially for John. And Oscar has found himself in a position where he can score not only his first podium finish, but his first win in ISO competition if he can only complete the next 4 laps. 4 laps to go now in the Shell Oils British Grand Prix.
Gabriele is still suffering there behind Giovanni.
He's actually
at least they will. Yeah, at least they will have both a good fond memories of today's race, because they have been having a quite clean fight. And what's that? Gabriele is signaling pits.
That's odd.
Now?
Must
be something automated.
It must be
yes,
automated.
cool.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he has fallen back, and the crew is signalizing pits. It's really weird.
That's odd.
Let's see what happens, where this brings us. Now it's getting back closer, but see one more corner to see what happens if he goes in the pits or not.
I'd be very surprised if he did. And he's going in the
He
pits.
does.
What's he doing?
He does.
Is it possible he needs fuel?
No, he cannot refuel. It's forbidden.
But we got 5 laps to go. What's the?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because he was going quick.
We got 3 laps to go now. I don't get the point of this at all, to be honest.
And it's a long pit stop too.
Yeah, I don't get it. He's still 6th. He wasn't going to lose a position to Juha Boss because he's too far behind. But still, I don't get that. That's really weird. And Centorami is now can take it off the Poyle and bring home a very, very nice points-paying finish for Tyrrell.
Yeah, with 3 laps to go, barring any horrendous driving error or an engine braking, this should be how the race ends.
All right, so here comes Oscar up to lap. Bruno, he's going to want to do this in the cleanest way possible. Bruno slows for him, lets him by. So for Oscar, it's down to just 2 laps now once he crosses the line. And he's going to be listening for every little tiny thing that might be wrong with that car. Is the engine okay? Do I have enough fuel? Are the tires okay? You can hear every single little tiny thing in that car. And he knows what's in front of him. He knows what he has to do. With 2 laps to go now in the British Grand Prix, he knows that what's in front of him, but he can't allow himself to think about what's coming next. He can't allow himself to rest for a second or to let his mind wander to the champagne or the step in the podium or the girls giving him a kiss on the cheek. He can't think about any of that stuff. He's got to think about bringing this car home. He's got a job to do. So often in sports, we see people celebrate before they've finished. Football players who cross the line into the end zone but drop the ball out of their hands before they cross that line. I've seen it happen in American football so many times, it's just hilarious. These guys are paid millions of dollars. Why do they do that, you know? In any case, the point being that Oscar's concentration has to be full. He knows that he's been pushing the car hard. He's got to be thinking about, can it take me one more lap? Here victory is coming through clearways, second to last time. And this is it. 1 lap to go for Oscar Team in the Ligier. Chopper shot here. His brother John is still in second place. Third is Coxon solidly. Fourth is Nilsson. And fifth is Centorami. Sixth is Del Piccolo. So basically that pit stop by Del Piccolo cemented the fifth place for... Oh, Del Piccolo has fallen to seventh now. Juha Boss has just passed him up to sixth place. So Ferrari is not going to walk away with nothing here. They'll go with one more point. Oscar now heading to the back side of the circuit.
I just don't get it. What
Yeah,
happened to
I don't.
Gabriele?
Yeah, that's strange. I don't understand what he expected to get from that. But it definitely just like handed the. But Juha Boss up to sixth place now is. It really doesn't make sense to me. Oscar Team coming through. He had several races where he didn't even start with the grid. He was in the pits when the green light went on. Other races where he was out at the first corner. But I don't imagine he's thinking of any of that now as he comes through clearways, now onto the main straightaway. And there it is. Oscar Team wins the Shell Oil British Grand Prix. His first ISO victory, his first podium in ISO. Congratulations, Oscar, on a fantastic drive. Second place, his brother, John. It's going to be a great, fun night at the team household. I hope they have lots of bubbly to celebrate, because this has been a family performance today. As here comes John out of the last turn, clearways, and takes second place. It's a 1-2 for Ligier, but more importantly, a first win for Oscar. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. In third place, a little further back, is Coxon. This is going to be an excellent result for the Benetton team.
Well, it's a good start to mount his second half of the series campaign, that's for sure. Nilsson has crossed the finish line now.
So he is in
where
fourth.
he was on track. Yes.
Yes, he's already finished in fourth. Here comes Coxon to take third place. Last step in the podium. Excellent effort from him. There he goes. And fourth is already finished. Here comes Centorami to take fifth place, top five finish for Tyrrell. And 2 points for the Tyrrell team. Fantastic effort on his part. Juha Boss has already finished in sixth. So Ferrari does not walk away from this race empty-handed. They do have 1 point, which is good for the Constructors' Championship. And Lotus is going to walk away with no points. So it's a very, very different day than we're used to seeing in this series. But Oscar Team driving just such a focused race towards the end there, and capitalizes on the retirement of Jules Bouchard to take his first ISO win.
Also noteworthy, Dave Miller was able to bring that Minardi to the finish line.
Yes, he was.
Same for Bruno Chacon with the arrows.
All right, so we've got Juha in the booth. Juha, good job getting sixth place there at the very end from Gabriel. We had, oh sorry, he's not in the, he's in the driver's cafe. Well, we'll wait for him to join us if he wants to. But all in all, a very interesting race, and I think a race that was decided in a lot of ways by the close confines of this circuit, especially the early incidents involving the leaders. But goodness, it shows that this championship is definitely not over. There's plenty of racing yet to do, and even though Jules has shown that he's probably the fastest driver on the circuit, he still has to put up the results. So,
yes, and well, the thing is that with this championship you got the drop scores, and in that sense Jules is in the best position possible because he has so many wins, with not just good results but wins. But then again, even the cats at some point run out of lives. So I think that Jules should really be careful in the rest of the season. He was doing it completely right today. He shouldn't be discouraged by what happened today because it was pure random luck. I mean, the way he was driving, what he was doing is actually what he should be doing till the end of the season.
We are joined now by the third place finisher, Richard Coxon of Sheffield, England. Congratulations, Richard, on podium placing for Benetton. Looks like the car is coming along, little by little.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of work to get it comfortable, but we had nothing to match people around us. I think it's just misfortune and mistakes by others that's enabled us to get into this position. So.
Yeah, it certainly was a component of what happened, but the car looked relatively good today, so I think, well, it'll be nice to see the Benetton team up, vying with the others on a more consistent basis going forward. The next race for all of you is the Grosser Prix von Deutschland. What's your thought? What are your thoughts there? BMW power helping you down the straight there?
Well, that's the round we get a major update. So it'll improve traction, it'll lessen the drag. So hopefully with the BMW power plant, if it survives, we might be able to challenge for the points again, but on pace this time instead of relying on misfortune of others. But
right.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with that.
Well, very good drive, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what happens 2 weeks from today on Sunday, June 25th, right here on our YouTube channel. Should be a fantastic race. And with the Lotus team and the Ferrari team not scoring any points, well, actually, no, the Ferrari team scored 1 point with Juha at the end there, but today was just a Cinderella story for the Ligier team. Not only did the brothers finish 1-2, but it was Oscar team's first ISO win today, which I'm sure he's just absolutely thrilled about. So I looked at the results over the years here at ISO, and to this point, Oscar had not had a first, a second, or a third. So what a fantastic
Brilliant result.
Yeah, brilliant result for him. He drove fantastic, and it makes up for all the disappointment, I'm sure, that he had earlier in the season. All right. Yeah. Well, seeing as there's nobody else in the green room, looks like we're ready to close this one out. Any final thoughts, Alberto?
Not especially. We've been mentioning this already all over the race. The situation is for Jules to try to defend his championship, trying to be the most regular possible. And as Richard has just explained, the next race is a turning point for the Benetton. We already saw the last time we raced this season what Gabriele was able to do with that car in that second half of the season. And I think that the mental note that everybody should be doing right now is that if in so many races we got some people at the top, some people at the bottom, if everybody has come so far or not so far, we got exactly the same half of the season to go where things could be polarly oppositely inverted. So the championship is open. That's the bottom line for today.
All right. Well, thank you so much to Alberto for providing expert color commentary as always. Thank you also to Richard for joining us in the booth. For all of the broadcast team and our colleagues here, this is Jason White saying so long from Brands Hatch. We'll see you next time at Hockenheim. And in the meantime, everybody take care of yourselves and be safe.